All right, ready to dive deep.
Always up for a deep dive, especially into something like this.
Today, we're tackling Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power.
Oh, this is going to be
Yeah,
good.
we're talking about the whole YouTube audiobook.
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
Ugh.
Buckle up, because this is a wild ride. We're not just talking about brute force power moves, we're getting into strategy, perception, influence. The whole
You
game.
got it. Green's not just talking surface level, he's peeling back the layers to show the real psychology behind power. It's not just about being in charge, it's about understanding people.
Okay, so law number one.
Never outshine the master.
Right. Never outshine the master. Green starts off with Galileo dedicating his discovery of Jupiter's moons to the Medici family. Seems simple, right? Just a respectful gesture.
Right.
But there's more to it, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. This is about knowing how to handle the egos of powerful people. It's not just flattery. Galileo knew exactly what he was doing. Making the Medici family the stars of the show, well, that made him even more valuable because he was brilliant but not a threat to them.
So he's saying, look at what I did, all thanks to your amazing support.
Exactly. He's navigating the power dynamics, showing he understands the rules of the game.
And then Green brings up Cicero Borgia and Astor Manfredi.
Oh, Manfred.
This young prince, everyone loved him. But that's what got him killed by Borgia, right? Because Borgia was so insecure.
It's classic. A boss who feels threatened by someone competent.
Even though Manfredi wasn't trying to outshine him, Borgia saw him as a rival.
It's a big lesson. You can be talented, liked, but if you trigger those insecurities, you're in trouble.
So let's bring this into the real world. Let's say the workplace.
Sure.
Should we all just play it small so our bosses don't feel threatened? Doesn't that hold us back?
It's not about hiding your skills. It's about being smart. Let's say your manager gets nervous because you're good at your job.
Happens all the time.
You don't have to pretend you're not good. Instead, show how your work helps them, supports their vision.
So play the game strategically.
Right.
Okay, on to law 3. Conceal your intentions. Green throws us into the world of con artists here.
Oh, this is a good one.
He talks about the yellow kid who used a fake land deal as a distraction. The real goal was a rigged boxing match.
Classic misdirection.
Yeah. The victim was so focused on that land deal,
The decoy, as Green calls it.
right,
Yeah.
the decoy, that they didn't see the con coming. By the time they realized, it was too late.
Smoke and mirrors, basically.
Is that what it is? Create a distraction while you're working on your real agenda.
It can be. But timing matters too. Look at Bismarck. He was all about going to war, publicly, but he actually wanted to delay it.
Wait, so he was against the war?
Yes. By hiding his real intentions, he kept everyone guessing. They were expecting an attack, but he was setting up something else entirely.
That's some serious strategy. It's like playing poker. You don't want to show your hand too early.
Exactly. Think about job interviews. You might be dreaming of being CEO one day, but don't lead with that.
Right.
Focus on your skills, how you can contribute right now. Don't reveal all your cards too soon.
Okay, so keep your cards close to your chest. Got it. But what about people who talk too much?
Ah, yes.
That's where Law 4 comes in. Always say less than necessary.
There's power in brevity. It's not just about being short and sweet. It's about creating this sense of mystery.
Mystery?
Yeah, like you're in control. Think about Louis XIV's court.
Mm.
The most powerful people weren't the chatterboxes. They chose their words carefully. Even their silence was powerful.
It's like better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. But in this case, it's more like remain silent and appear powerful.
You got it. Make people lean in, wanting to know what you're thinking. Intrigue is powerful.
I'm starting to see that. Okay, so Law 5 is all about reputation. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Green uses the story of Zhu Zhiliang, this Chinese general, and his empty city tactic.
Oh, that's a brilliant one.
So Liang left his city seemingly undefended,
On purpose.
but his enemies thought it was a trap, so they retreated. They were defeated by Liang's reputation alone.
It shows how a strong reputation can be your greatest weapon.
So he basically bluffed his way to victory. But if he wasn't known for being smart, that would backfire, right?
Absolutely. Your reputation sets the stage. It shapes how people see you and even determines how conflicts play out before they begin.
So how do we build that kind of reputation, besides, leaving our cities undefended?
Think of it like building a brand. Consistency is key. Your actions, your words, everything you do builds that image. And be careful, even small mistakes can hurt you.
Especially in the age of social media. One wrong move, and it's all over the internet. It's like we're all living in a giant court, constantly being judged. Kind of makes you paranoid, doesn't it?
Maybe a little. But that's not always bad. Being aware of how you're perceived, that's smart.
Okay, Law 7 might step on some toes here.
What is it?
Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Green brings up Nikola Tesla, the inventor. Brilliant, but his work was often exploited. Talent doesn't always equal recognition.
This one is tough. The world doesn't always reward the person who does the work. It rewards the one who controls the story.
Isn't that kind of ruthless? What about collaboration?
It's a balance, for sure. But Green is showing us a harsh reality.
Yeah.
Protecting your ideas, your contributions, that's crucial. Making sure you get the credit you deserve.
So it's not about stealing credit, but making sure you're recognized.
Exactly. Own your successes. Don't let them fade into the background.
Okay, I could see that. Law 8 is make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. This is about patience, right?
Strategic patience.
Not chasing after things, but letting them come to you.
You become the puppet master. You know what your opponent wants, what they fear, and you use that to set a trap. They make the moves, but you're the one in control.
Green uses Talleyrand and Napoleon's escape from Elba as an example.
Oh, Talleyrand. He was a master.
Napoleon wasn't exactly innocent, but Talleyrand used his ambition against him, knowing it would lead to his downfall.
He played the long game. He knew Napoleon coming back to power would be chaotic, which would ultimately make Talleyrand even stronger. He basically baited Napoleon with the thing he wanted most: power.
Wow, that is some serious chess playing.
It's all about understanding people, psychology, knowing what makes them tick, what buttons to push.
Okay, we've talked about words, reputation, manipulation, but what about when things get confrontational?
Right.
Law 9 is win through your actions, never through argument.
Ah, the power of action over words.
So Green tells this story about Michelangelo. A critic didn't like the nose on his David sculpture.
Of course, there's always a critic.
Instead of arguing, Michelangelo pretended to make a change. He let some dust fall from the sculpture. The critic thought he'd taken his advice and praised the improved nose.
Brilliant.
So simple, but so effective. He shut the critic down without saying a word. But how do we apply this in real life? It's not like we're all sculpting masterpieces.
Think about it this way. Arguments are often about ego, about being right. They rarely change anything. But actions, they have impact. They show what you're capable of.
Show, don't tell, basically.
Exactly. Actions speak louder than words.
Okay, I'm getting it. So we've got subtle manipulation, letting our actions speak. But what about the people we surround ourselves with?
You mean who we let into our lives?
Exactly. Law 10 is infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky.
Ah, yes. The company we keep.
Green tells the story of Lola Montez, a dancer. It seemed like everyone around her was dragged down by her bad luck. It's a reminder that negativity can spread.
It's about protecting yourself, your energy. Who you spend time with matters.
So choose your friends wisely. But what about loyalty? What about sticking by people when they're going through tough times?
Loyalty is important, but Green is saying be careful of what you let into your life. This isn't about abandoning people. It's about recognizing that negativity can drag you down, too.
So find a balance. Be supportive, but protect your own goals.
Right. Think of it like a garden. You take care of the healthy plants, and you get rid of the weeds that are choking everything else.
Love that analogy. Okay, on to Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. This sounds a little manipulative, doesn't it? Shouldn't we be aiming for healthy relationships? Not making people depend on us?
Green is diving into power dynamics here. Dependence is part of that. Look at Bismarck and King Wilhelm I. Bismarck made himself indispensable to the king. He wasn't just an advisor, he was the architect of the king's decisions.
So he became the power behind the throne.
Exactly. By making himself essential, he secured his own position. He even outlasted the king.
But how do we do this ethically? We don't want to take advantage of people.
It's not about manipulating people. It's about being so valuable, having the skills and knowledge that people need. Think about the people you go to for help. They often have something you need, right?
Yeah, they're the experts, the ones with the connections.
So it's about building that reputation, being the go-to person, the problem solver.
Okay, I see that. Law 12 is about playing the long game. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim.
Ah, this one's good. Kindness as a strategy.
So a well-timed act of generosity can make you seem trustworthy.
It makes people lower their guard.
Green uses Count Victor Lustig as an example, the guy who conned Al Capone.
No way. Al Capone.
He offered Capone a fake investment, then gave the money back, saying the deal fell through.
So Capone thought he was honest.
Yeah, And then he got conned for a much larger amount later.
It's classic. A small act of honesty to hide a bigger deception. We're programmed to trust people who seem to be helping us.
So how do we spot this? How do we know when someone's being genuine versus using kindness as a tactic?
Pay attention to patterns. One act of kindness isn't a red flag. But if it's always happening, if they're always using generosity to get something, be careful.
So don't be cynical, but be aware of the possibility of manipulation.
Exactly. Stay open to connection, but be smart about who you trust.
Okay, Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude.
Right. Appealing to their self-interest.
Green uses the Corcyraean ambassador as an example. He wanted Athens to form an alliance during the Peloponnesian War.
Big ask.
Instead of begging or relying on past favors, he showed Athens how it would benefit them. Appealing to their self-interest worked.
People help when they see what's in it for them. It's about understanding that. Everyone wants to protect themselves and get ahead.
So don't guilt-trip people, make it a win-win situation.
Exactly. Find the common ground.
Okay, now Law 14 is getting a bit sneaky. Pose as a friend. Work as a spy. That sounds Machiavellian. Are we really supposed to do that?
It's not about being a secret agent. It's about being observant. Paying attention to what people say, what they do, and figuring out what they really want.
So it's not about being dishonest. It's about being a good listener,
Yeah.
a good observer.
Exactly. Pick up on those subtle cues people give away.
Like that saying, listen, smile, agree, and then do whatever the hell you were going to do anyway.
Yeah, that kind of sums it up. Appear agreeable while still pursuing your own goals. It's about using information strategically.
Okay, Law 15 is not for the faint of heart. Crush your enemy. Totally. Genghis Khan and his conquest of the Khwarezmian Empire is the example here.
This one's intense.
Green is saying that when you're dealing with threats, be decisive. No half measures.
He's not messing around.
Genghis Khan knew that to protect his empire, he had to completely dismantle his enemies.
It might seem extreme, but there's a lesson there.
Yeah, what's the takeaway for us? We're not conquering empires here.
It's about knowing when a situation needs a clean break. Sometimes, to get rid of a threat, you have to be swift and decisive. It's not about being cruel. It's about ending a conflict before it gets worse.
Like ripping off a Band-Aid. Get it over with quickly.
Exactly. Sometimes hesitation does more damage.
Okay, let's jump ahead to Law 18. This one seems a bit counterintuitive. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous.
Why is that?
It seems like isolating yourself would keep you safe. But Green says it actually makes you more vulnerable. You miss out on information, allies, and it makes you an easier target. He uses Louis XIV and his palace at Versailles as an example. A magnificent fortress, but it isolated him from his people.
He lost touch with reality.
Exactly. Real power comes from connection, building relationships, finding support. Isolation breeds distrust and weakness.
So don't build walls, build bridges.
I like that. Okay, Law 20. Do not commit to anyone.
What? No
It
commitments.
sounds cynical, but I think Green is talking about strategic flexibility. He looks at Otto von Bismarck. He used alliances strategically, but never got too tied down to any one person or group.
It kept him adaptable.
It let him maneuver through changing political landscapes. So it's about keeping your options open, not being too dependent.
Exactly. Stay autonomous, ready to adapt.
Now, for a classic. Law 21. Play a sucker. To catch a sucker, seem dumber than your mark. This is playing dumb, right? But isn't that dishonest?
It's about controlling how people see you. If you seem less intelligent, you can lower their guard.
Green tells the story of the diamond mine hoax. Philip Arnold and John Slack tricked investors by pretending to be clueless country bumpkins who'd found a diamond mine.
Oh, wow.
They were so good at playing naive that people didn't suspect a con.
It's a reminder that we can't always judge a book by its cover.
So how do we use this without compromising our integrity? I don't want to feel like I'm always pretending.
It's about picking your moments. Sometimes playing dumb can be useful, especially against arrogant people.
So be adaptable. Know when to play the game.
Exactly. It's having different tools and knowing when to use each one.
Okay, and last, for this section, Law 22. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. This sounds almost impossible. How can surrendering be powerful? Isn't that admitting defeat?
Not always. Strategic surrender can buy you time to regroup, to plan your next move.
Green uses Bertolt Brecht as an example. He pretended to cooperate with the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Oh, during the Red Scare.
Yeah. Instead of fighting, He used the situation to expose their tactics, turning it into a platform for his beliefs.
He turned a weakness into an opportunity.
It's about knowing when to fight and when to yield. Pick your battles, I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly. Real power isn't about winning every fight. It's about achieving your goals.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's about choosing your battles wisely.
Right. Knowing when to fight and when to yield.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've seen how even retreating can be a power move.
Sometimes the best offense is a good defense.
But what about when you were in a strong position? How do you keep that momentum going without getting spread too thin? That's Law 23, right?
Concentrate your forces.
It's all about focus, isn't it?
Absolutely. Green uses the Kingdom of Wu as a warning. They tried to do too much, fight on too many fronts.
And what happened?
They crumbled, lost sight of what really mattered.
Like trying to chase two rabbits, you catch none.
Exactly. Spreading yourself too thin, that just weakens you. Sun Tzu said it best in The Art of War. Focus your energy, like a laser beam, not a light bulb.
Because this isn't just about armies. It's about anything we want to achieve.
Right.
Business, writing, even just getting through our to-do list.
It all comes down to focus. Prioritize what matters, cut out the distractions. You can't say yes to everything.
Now, Law 24, it takes us back to those royal courts.
Oh. Play the perfect courtier.
Sounds a bit outdated, but I think these principles still apply today, don't you? We might not have kings and queens, but we're all navigating social situations.
You're right. It's about understanding those unspoken rules, the social cues, the power dynamics.
So it's like being a social chameleon, blending in, standing out when you need to.
It's about reading the room, being charming, diplomatic, but not fake.
Okay, so we've got to be strategic, focused, socially aware. But what about when you feel stuck, like you're playing a role that doesn't fit anymore? Law 25. Recreate yourself.
Ah, this one's about transformation, taking control of your story and deciding who you want to be.
Green uses George Sand as an example, the novelist.
She took on a male persona to break free from societal expectations.
That's powerful, using self-creation to overcome obstacles and achieve your goals.
Right. It's not about being fake. It's about recognizing that we all have different sides to us. Recreation is about choosing which side to show, depending on the situation.
So we're all actors in a way, playing different roles.
In a sense, yes. It's being aware of the image you're projecting, making sure it aligns with your goals.
Okay, time for some action. Law 28. Enter action with boldness. Step up. Take risks. Make a statement. Right.
Exactly. Green compares Christopher Columbus and Vasco Núñez de Balboa, both explorers.
But Columbus was bolder, more willing to gamble on his vision.
And it paid off. He discovered a new world, even if it wasn't the one he expected.
Balboa, while brave, didn't have that same drive. He made discoveries, but he's not as well known.
Right. Boldness gets you noticed and inspires people.
But boldness without a plan, that's just reckless. Law 29. Plan all the way to the end.
Vision needs a strategy. Columbus is a great example. He planned his routes, stocked his ships, even learned astronomy to navigate.
Wow, he was prepared.
Balboa was more reactive, and that ultimately led to his downfall. So you need both the vision and the plan.
Like having a roadmap, thinking through the obstacles, being ready for anything.
Exactly. Even the best ideas can fail without proper execution.
Speaking of strategy, Law 31. Control the options, get others to play with the cards you deal. This is getting into manipulation territory again, isn't it?
Not necessarily. It's about influencing choices, subtly.
Okay, how so?
Think about General Sherman's march to the sea during the Civil War.
That was brutal. He tore through the South, destroying everything in his path.
But it was strategic. He gave his enemies terrible choices. No good options.
So it's like chess. You're thinking several moves ahead, anticipating your opponent's responses, setting them up.
Exactly. Understand their psychology, create a scenario where they have to play by your rules.
Okay, Law 32 is something every marketer wishes they could master. Play to people's fantasies, appealing to our desires.
Right, tapping into those deep-seated wants and fears. Humans are emotional creatures. We love stories, myths, anything that speaks to our dreams.
Green talks about the Venetians and how they used alchemy to maintain their image.
Even though their power was declining, they created this illusion of wealth and influence by playing to people's desires.
It was all smoke and mirrors, really.
But a brilliant marketing campaign nonetheless.
So be a discerning consumer. Look beyond the glitz and glamour, especially when something seems too good to be true.
Exactly. Understand the power of stories and be aware of how emotions can be manipulated.
Okay, now for a law that sounds a little, well, dark. Law 33. Discover each man's thumbscrew. finding people's weaknesses.
It's about understanding what drives people, their fears, their aspirations. It's not about exploiting them, but about using that knowledge to build relationships and influence effectively.
Green uses the art dealer Joseph Devine as an example.
He was a master at reading his clients. He knew their tastes, their insecurities, and used that to sell them paintings.
He wasn't just selling art, he was selling an experience, a feeling.
Exactly. He found that emotional connection point.
So it's about figuring out what makes people tick. That's how you connect with them.
It's about empathy, but a strategic kind of empathy, seeing the world through their eyes to understand their motivations.
Okay, Law 34. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. Isn't this just fake it till you make it?
It's more than that. It's about embodying those qualities we associate with power. Confidence, decisiveness, purpose.
Green talks about Christopher Columbus and how he projected this royal persona.
He had this unwavering belief in himself and his vision.
It helped him convince kings and queens to fund his expeditions.
He understood the power of perception, how people are drawn to those who seem confident and in control.
So it's not about being arrogant. It's about having that inner confidence that shines through.
Exactly. It's about believing in yourself and projecting that belief outwards so others will follow.
Law 36 is about letting go. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. It sounds almost Buddhist, like non-attachment.
Green is approaching it strategically. It's about recognizing that sometimes the best way to deal with something is to ignore it.
Seriously, just ignore it.
Sometimes, when you give something attention, you give it power. When you withdraw your attention, it loses its importance. Green talks about King Henry VIII and his break from the Catholic Church.
That was a big deal.
He didn't argue or try to appease anyone. He just created his own church.
He made his own rules.
He refused to play their game. He understood that sometimes the most powerful move is to walk away.
So it's not just about religion, it's about anything that's draining your energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Focus on what you can control, what you can influence, let go of the rest.
Speaking of influence, Law 37 is create compelling spectacles. It's all about putting on a show, isn't it?
It's about creating a memorable experience, something that evokes emotion and leaves an impression.
Think of Louis XIV at Versailles, Caesar's triumph in Rome. Those were displays of power, designed to awe and inspire.
They were carefully orchestrated performances, sending a clear message of power and authority.
So this applies to more than just emperors and kings, right? We all create spectacles in our own way.
Absolutely. It's about using visual communication strategically to shape how people see you and feel.
Okay, now for a reality check. Law 38. Think as you like, but behave like others. This sounds like conformity, stifling our individuality.
It's not about suppressing who you are. It's about understanding that social norms matter.
So there are times when you have to play by the rules.
Green uses Pausanias, a Spartan general, as an example. He flaunted his unconventional ways and paid the price.
You didn't fit in?
And it led to his downfall. It's a reminder that while being true to yourself is important, sometimes you need to blend in to avoid unnecessary trouble.
So know when to stand out and when to play it safe.
Exactly. Choose your battles wisely.
Okay, time to shake things up, Law 39. Stir up waters to catch fish. Manipulation again.
This one's about understanding how emotions can be used. People don't always make rational decisions when they're upset or angry.
So you're saying provoke them and they'll make mistakes.
Green uses the example of Haile Selassie. He deliberately provoked a rebellion, knowing his opponent would react emotionally and make a mistake.
Like that saying, never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake.
Exactly. Stay calm, watch your opponent lose their cool, and then capitalize on their mistakes.
Okay, time for some healthy cynicism. Law 40. Despise the free lunch.
Nothing in life is truly free. There's always a price tag, even if it's hidden.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly. Be wary of anything offered for nothing. True power requires effort and sacrifice.
Law 41 is relatable. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. Those are some tough shoes to fill.
It's about the challenge of following in the footsteps of someone legendary. It's easy to get overshadowed.
Like the emperors who came after Augustus. The presidents after Lincoln, tough acts to follow.
Green uses Alexander the Great as an example. Even he struggled to escape his father's legacy.
He had big shoes to fill.
The takeaway here is to forge your own path. Create your own identity. Don't just try to copy what came before.
Find your own voice, your own style.
Exactly. You have the potential to be great in your own way. Just have the courage to step out of the shadows.
Okay, Law 42. Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. This sounds a bit ruthless.
It's about understanding group dynamics. Power often resides in key individuals.
Take out the leader and the group collapses.
Exactly. Like a lion pride without its alpha.
Or the Spanish conquistadors capturing the Aztec and Inca emperors.
They knew that controlling the leader meant controlling the empire.
So it's about identifying who holds the real power and either winning them over or taking them out of the equation.
Understand where the power lies and use that knowledge strategically.
Now, a law that's particularly relevant today, Law 43. Work on the hearts and minds of others. This is about persuasion, right? Getting people on your side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about building genuine connections, understanding people's needs and desires, and communicating effectively.
Green uses Marie Antoinette as a cautionary tale. She failed to connect with the French people, and it cost her everything.
It's a reminder that real power is built on relationships, trust, and shared purpose.
So it's not about commanding or controlling people. It's about inspiring them to follow you, to believe in your vision.
Exactly. True leadership is about empowering others.
Okay, on to Law 44. This one sounds mysterious. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. What is the mirror effect?
It's about reflecting back at your opponent.
Yeah.
It can disarm them, confuse them, expose their weaknesses.
So you're literally mirroring their behavior.
It can be that simple, like mirroring their body language to build rapport,
Yeah.
or repeating their words back to them to clarify their meaning.
So pay attention to how they're communicating
Yeah.
and use that information strategically.
Exactly. Understand the power of those subtle cues and how they can be used to your advantage.
Okay, Law 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. Don't rock the boat too much.
People resist change, even when it's good for them. Go slowly, one step at a time.
The best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time.
Exactly. Green talks about how the Roman Republic, even as it became an empire, kept some old traditions to maintain stability.
So change is a process, not an event.
Respect tradition, introduce new ideas gradually, give people time to adjust.
This one's for all the perfectionists out there. Law 46. Never appear too perfect.
Perfection can be intimidating. It makes people feel inadequate.
Like the tallest tree gets hit by the most wind.
Exactly. Being too perfect makes you a target for envy and criticism. Show some vulnerability, be relatable, don't make others feel inferior.
So be authentic, be human. Our flaws are part of what makes us unique.
Exactly. People connect with genuine people, not perfect facades.
Okay, this one's important for those who've achieved success. Law 47. Do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop. Know when to quit while you're ahead.
Success can be intoxicating. It can lead to overconfidence and bad decisions.
Green uses King Croesus as an example. He got carried away by his victories and ignored all the warnings.
And it led to his downfall. Classic case of hubris.
It's like a gambler who keeps winning and then bets everything on one bad hand.
Exactly. Even in victory, be strategic. Know when to consolidate your wins and when to walk away.
So self-awareness is key. Recognize when you're getting cocky and take a step back.
True power isn't about constantly striving for more. It's about knowing when you have enough.
And finally, the last law, Law 48. Assume formlessness.
Be adaptable, fluid, unpredictable.
Like Bruce Lee said, be like water, my friend.
Exactly. Green uses T.E. Lawrence of Arabia, as an example.
He was a master of guerrilla warfare, adapting to the desert, using surprise tactics.
He understood that in a constantly changing world, adaptability is key.
So be flexible. Be willing to change course. Don't get stuck in rigid patterns.
Exactly. The only constant is change. And the ability to adapt is what will make you successful.
Wow, that was intense.
Right.
48 laws of power. We covered a lot.
We did. It's like a crash course in power dynamics.
Everything from subtle manipulation to knowing when to walk away.
But it's important to remember, Green isn't saying be ruthless or Machiavellian. It's about understanding the rules of the game, how power works.
It's like seeing behind the curtain all the power plays that happen, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. Once you see the patterns, you see them everywhere. At work, in relationships, even just everyday interactions.
Okay, so of all these laws, which ones really hit home for you? Which ones feel most relevant today?
I keep coming back to the ones about understanding people, like discover each man's thumbscrew, or work on the hearts and minds of others. They're all about empathy.
Not just feeling sorry for people, but really understanding them.
Right, strategic empathy, knowing what makes them tick, what they want, what they're afraid of.
It's about seeing things from their perspective, then using that to connect with them, influence them.
Exactly. Power isn't just force or control. It's about persuasion, finding common ground, creating win-win situations.
I also think that Law 24, play the perfect courtier, is so relevant, even though it sounds old-fashioned.
Hmm.
We're always navigating social situations.
Absolutely. Workplaces, communities, even families. There are always these power dynamics, unspoken rules, subtle cues.
So we need to develop that social intelligence, be aware of what's going on, and know how to handle it.
Right. Be adaptable. Know when to speak up, when to blend in, how to communicate effectively with different types of people.
And finally, Law 25, recreate yourself. It's empowering, especially in a world that tried to put us in boxes.
Totally. We have the power to choose who we want to be, to
Yeah.
evolve, to go after our dreams, even if they're different.
So take control of your story, create the image you want, don't let others define you.
Right.
So what do we do with all this knowledge about power? What's the takeaway?
First, become aware. Pay attention to the power dynamics around you. At work, in relationships. Who has the power? How do they use it? How does it affect you?
It's like seeing the world with new eyes.
Once you see it, you can start making conscious choices. You can use these principles to your advantage, to achieve your goals, to build better relationships, to navigate the world more effectively.
So it's not about being manipulative. It's about understanding the game and using that knowledge for good.
Exactly. Empower yourself, not exploit others.
Well, we've given everyone a lot to chew on today. Go back, revisit the laws that stood out, see how they play out in your own life. Use this knowledge to achieve your goals and to navigate the world with more confidence.
If you remember, power is a tool. Use it wisely.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.